My dearest block buddies, we've been talking about this one for the past few months, and even though blocked content is fairly young right now, we've gained quite an awesome fan base through covering this game. The fan base seems to be completely divided. Some clamor for the old, some applaud the new, but ultimately, this blocked content review should serve as the perfect culmination of everything we know about this game. As we promised in one of our previous In Defense Of videos, we won't be comparing this game to earlier games in the series. I think this would be the most fair, as it looks like Nintendo seems to be rebooting this franchise since the last couple of years. If we were to compare every single detail of the game to the ways of old, it would get shredded apart simply because of the old mechanics, world building, and charm that was such a special case of lightning in a bottle. What interests me is reviewing this game honestly and on its own merits, and not for the reasons of making fun of it or being clever, but to let Nintendo and the Nintendo fans know what works and what doesn't in this drastically new approach. We all want content that's better, content that's more exciting and more creative. We have the power to play a part in what shapes games as reviewers, and I honestly want to take the chance to give our detailed thoughts on the game. Let's work on a better tomorrow together, and let's dive right into things. This is the official blocked content review of the long-awaited Wii U title, Paper Mario Color Splash. What you'll notice immediately when you switch the game on is its uniqueness. The look and feel of the paper aesthetic really sells it for me. At first, from the first glimpses, the trailers and stuff like that, it felt like they were maybe going overboard with making everything look very realistic in a Mario world. But it actually works. It actually works really well. Cardboard boxes to jump on, cutout trees, paper characters moving in the wind, clouds held up by string. It really gives that toy box diorama feeling. Although I do feel that the actual colors in the game could have been a bit more lively. Having elements be realistic means realistic colors, but it'd be nice to see brighter shades in the more upbeat areas, especially the normal grassy plain themed levels. They need some more vibrant greens. I think a little mesh between realistic shading and cartoony coloring could have made the overall picture work just a little better. That's just a tiny gripe, but I think it's an important one to make because the Mario world always needs to stand out in terms of color and how much it jumps right into your face. And it doesn't really with this game. The game handles the paper feeling very well. As seen in many of the trailers, the game makes great use of fun ways to explore how being made of paper can influence the world, with characters bending, tearing, flipping, and waving around just like you'd expect. The characters also have a less defined color scheme, more solid and non-gradient based. The white outlines around the characters make them stand out in a crowd, and crowds there are. It's pretty crazy to see just how many characters we can have on screen now. Granted, this is the Wii U and it's plenty powerful, certainly a little underused with this title compared to what we know the system can do, which is fine for this title. And it's paper characters, so it's not that crazy to have that many people on screen, but the game can sure sell it when there's a big crowd of enemies just chasing you down. It feels crazy, energetic, and things like these really make you feel like you're playing a console game, a very big experience. Other things from the presentation of the game really hit home. The soundtrack is actually really well done, super catchy, and also very energetic. There's a big band feel to some of the songs, very jazzy, that fits with Color Splash. There is somehow always a sense of urgency in the music, which works really well for such an action-oriented game. Characters sort of talk too, little blurbs and voices, but nothing as charming as that in Banjo-Kazooie or anything. But there is a sign of life here, and it works very consistently. All the Super Mario classic sound effects you love return, although being slightly remade made them a little tame, especially the simple hard-to-screw-up sounds like the simple coin sound effect. The character design is handled very simple. There is not a lot of personality in the NPCs in the game, especially the ones on the good side. Having the same looking Toad be a different person every time is getting a bit stale. The Toad joke got old pretty fast, and I'm not sure why Nintendo keeps pushing for that in this game. In other instances, the characters are just fine. Introducing things like the Koopalings to this game was a very smart choice. There are also some notable surprises in terms of returning characters from the entire Mario franchise that we won't dare to spoil. The game does a good job of giving us the references that we crave and keeping other things, like level design and unique locations, completely fresh. And did we mention references back there? The dialogue in the game is one of its biggest highlights, and they definitely get the tone right. There's just so much humor in this game that it sometimes takes its cleverness a little too serious, which means not serious at all, so even in the bleakest of times in the game, they can feel lighthearted. But there are also plenty of gags for us more adult Nintendo fans, little winks to tropes from the games that are a little tiresome at this point. Hey Nintendo, if you agree with that fact, why do you still have that sort of stuff? Kidnap some other princess this time. Humor hitting it out of the park was already well established because of the many trailers, but you'll find lots more to love in the final game. And definitely, there are some dark moments in the story, some very close to the closing moments of the game, and I was very happy to see Nintendo actually have the guts to go through with something like that. Alright, I think it's time we talk some gameplay. Paper Mario Color Splash is an action-adventure game at heart. It's got a bit of an experience system woven in there, but this is not a Super Mario RPG by any means. It's really focused on action, adventuring through the world, and some very mild puzzle solving that mostly ends up being hit this thing with your paint hammer and it does another thing. A little disappointing. There are some more clever puzzles in the game, but they're in there quite sparingly. Mostly you'll be walking from point A to point B in most courses and defeating a boss at the end and then collecting your precious paint stars. There are some small platforming sections in the game, but the controls are very responsive and controlling Mario feels so good that I was hoping for more to do with our hero Jumpman, but there's not that much to jump. Hitting things with a hammer can become pretty stale in the late game. What's very important to note is that there is a big change in gameplay in every other level or so, with many cool new ways to play. This includes a very cool throwback level and things involving transforming your paper shape and controlling things like a pirate ship. There are also some more quest-based levels where you basically walk around sort of a hub world solving small puzzles. These were a blast, and it made me very happy to not be retreading the whole walk here, hit this, collect that style of the first few levels. The late game really knows its strength, later on in the game where they spice proceedings up drastically. What is very annoying is that the game asks you to replay levels many times to collect different paint stars in it. This sounds familiar for anyone who's played Super Mario 64, a beautiful game for its time that also had many objectives within one world. However, in Paper Mario Color Splash, the world is so two-dimensional, no pun intended, that you really don't feel the urge to go back to them. They look fine, but they are straightforward. It feels like padding out the runtime of the game, and it's kind of a shame, as the game can be plenty creative if it wants to. What I also miss is a big hub feeling in the game. Some levels do this. The courses are mostly very small, with even big setups that never really pay off. One example is the Golden Colosseum. I want to explore a world even more. I want to live a day in like a little Goomba or Koopa village. I want to belong somewhere. Now Mario feels more like a hasty tourist most of the time, and I think that lots of locations in the game could have been bigger to serve as more open worlds, and in that way maybe pad the runtime a little bit. So then we come down to the battling. Alright, Mario will need to defeat many enemies on his way to save the princess, but never has the process been this slow and tedious. You use cards in battles, and it immediately felt very forced and impersonal to me. Mario staring at his deck of cards and waiting for you to swipe a bunch of gamepad cards is the most dull fight experience that I've had in any game. Such a shame that the combat isn't more RPG focused or dynamic. Sometimes it requires no skill at all, especially in the awesome looking boss fights, where a simple thing card can trump anything the boss throws at you, and it's basically an instant win for you. I really wanted to give the much discussed combat a chance. I really did, and I tried, but other than feeling really satisfying when you have loads of paint collected and health and experience gained, I got absolutely nothing out of the fights in this game. Nintendo, this is your weakest area for these games. Please take note. So, as far as story goes, this has got to be one of the reasons I didn't score the game as high as I had wanted to. I really thought Nintendo would take us for a loop with the storyline and deliver something new, fresh, and exciting with the way the game played out. We've all seen the trailers and we kind of know what the setup is, and I was kind of hoping that they'd show us this so that they can kind of flip it on the side later in the game. But no, without spoiling anything, it's the same old, same old. Princess gets kidnapped, fun stuff happens along the way, you beat the baddie, save the girl without getting the girl. It's as lifeless as a Mario story can get, and that's such a bummer seeing how rich the universe is. What happened to the existential tales in Super Mario Galaxy, or the awesome story of the Mario and Luigi series? Paper Mario Color Splash has one thing going for it in terms of story, and that's the paint gimmick. And a gimmick it is. A mysterious villain has drained the world of Prism Island of its color, and Mario sets out to explore what's going on with his conveniently new paint can sidekick Huey. You restore paint to the drained gray world by smashing it with your paint hammer, lowering buckets of paint over the world, and collecting big paint stars. The story has some cool small side back alleys, but nothing earth-shattering, and Color Splash remains, to me, the weakest a Mario story has been since New Super Mario Bros. U. That's kind of a bummer. Don't be afraid to give the franchise something weird and new. Anytime you've done it, Nintendo, everyone has loved it. I mean, Wart, right? So, now I guess we come down to the verdict. Look guys, I wanted to like the game a little more than I actually do. It feels vibrant, fun, and it is actually a really big game. It takes a long time to get through this. I love the humor, and the graphical style of the game is crazy beautiful, but small things like the battle system and the story keep it from being awesome as it can be. And if you think about it, battling and the story are actually not that small things. Battling is over 50% of the gameplay in the entire game, and the story should be the reason that you keep going and progressing. I like the game, but because I was so prepared to love it, I'm a little torn. Right in my paper soul. The Paper Mario series is heading in the right direction, all things considered. And I just want to thank this game in particular for being the reason that this channel got so many great fans already. It has jump-started this awesome dream of mine to have a place to talk about all the things that I love with people who love it too, and to create awesome content like animations, songs, and analyses. Thank you, Paper Mario Color Splash. You're a good game. Blocked Content rates Paper Mario Color Splash with a 7.1 out of 10. Thanks for being on this journey with us. Right now we enter the age of Nintendo NX. If you want to keep up to date on that whole thing, please subscribe to Blocked Content, because we're making videos about this stuff on the daily, so become part of our family and discuss everything with us. You can also add us on Facebook and Twitter at Squared Things. Remember, you can also win our Super Mario Maker goodie by commenting below why you should get it. It's magnets to create your own Mario levels on your fridge, and we're giving away a few of them to some lucky fans for free. Anyway, I hope you like this review. I tried to be as honest as I can be, and I actually really like it, and I'm just gonna play it a lot more. I just wish that it would be something that I could really love and look back to later. But I think it's heading in the right direction, and thinking about, where the franchise actually was, this actually fits really well in sort of the grand scheme of things. They're heading in the right direction, and it's not a misstep. It's actually very much a next chapter, and I can't wait to see what maybe the next book is about. Anyway, see you guys on the next video. Bye bye, my blood buddies.